You can listen to The Professional Left wherever you get your podcasts, on Netroots Radio, or at our website, proleftpod.com, where you can also contribute to this podcast. There's a PayPal button at our website, or you can mail us a letter and or contribution at P.O. Box 9133, Springfield, Illinois, 62791.
This is the podcast for the week of October 3rd, 2025. It's not safe for work.
Recorded live from the Cornfield Resistance, where Trump's Gestapo arrived in Chicago this week, armed for a Fallujah street battle with drones and helicopters and rappelling lines and jackboots. It's The Professional Left with Driftglass and Blue Gal.
And we're going to get to Chicago in a moment.
We will.
Chicago strong. We're praying for Chicago.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to start with, today, a tale of two shutdowns.
Mm-hmm.
It was the best of shutdowns. It was the worst of shutdowns. It was the time of endless Republican lying about immigrants. It was the time of zero paychecks. It was the epoch of continuing resolutions. It was the epoch of continuing excuses. It was the season of bellicose garbage speeches. It was the season of padlocked national parks. It was the spring of deficit chicken hawks on vacation. It was the winter of unpaid TSA agents. We had everything before us unless we were a federal employee. Then we had nothing before us but ramen noodles and IOUs. We were all going direct to Netflix. We were all going direct the other way to stand in line at the unemployment office. In short, the shutdown was so much like the last shutdown and the shutdown before that, that some of its loudest partisans insisted on being received for good or for ill in the superlative degree of only their fault and not ours. Republicans in Congress who, again, went on vacation this week, swaggered across the stage like Dickensian caricatures, half Pecksniff, half Scrooge, while lying with a straight face that closing the government was actually a genius way to make government work better. Meanwhile, the Republic creaked on, held together by duct tape, irony, and the sheer stubbornness of postal workers who kept delivering jury summons even though the courts were closed.
Go postal unions.
Go postal unions. So guess what we're going to talk about today.
I'm a huge believer in these government shutdowns.
Now, as far as I'm concerned, I don't care how long it goes on. I feel sorry for the people that won't get their paychecks. That probably won't happen till mid-October.
I don't care if the government shuts down. Our military will still be defending us. We'll still have Border Patrol working. We'll have law enforcement working. We will also have Social Security and Medicaid provided to the elderly in this country. Those in need will get their checks, etc. Doesn't scare me. Never has, never will.
Doge the entire system. Yeah. Let's do round two of Doge, a turbo Doge speed run over the next month by virtue of this government shutdown.
No, and I think they also misreading the fact that people don't care if they shut it down. It's like less government. You know, it used to be a big deal. Now it's just less government. You can get away with it. And you never miss how much, you realize how much government you don't miss.
Something else amazing to see. There is a government shutdown right now, and we are cheering for that. We say yes.
So, I mean, it kind of feels like, a government shutdown is mostly the stuff you need and kind of gets rid of a lot of the stuff you don't.
Those are, in the order you heard them, Steve Bannon, Sean Hannity, Newsmax guests James Fishback and Mark Lotter, former paid Russian dupe Benny Johnson, and Ben Shapiro, all loving the current government shutdown. Meanwhile, you have Republican office holders from Vice President J.D. Vance to House Speaker Mike Johnson all the way down to the most junior Freedom Caucus House members insisting, if they are at a microphone, but let's face it, the entire Republican caucus left for vacation Tuesday night, that the shutdown is because Democrats are conducting a Schumer shutdown because they want the taxpayers to, quote, give away free health care to illegal immigrants, unquote. These are the very same congressmen who voted to give the Pentagon over $52 billion more than they asked for after a decade of failed audits. And polls show that Americans on the whole are not falling for their talking points.
Yeah. This is from Mother Jones. Beyond the fact that Republicans control all three branches of government, it appears that though the substance of their legislative priorities are also unpopular. The same Washington Post poll found that a staggering 71% of respondents say that the federal subsidies that would reduce the cost of ACA plans scheduled to expire at the end of the year, a sticking point for Democrats in the stalled negotiations that led to the shutdown, should be extended. And nearly half of respondents said Democrats should demand the extension even if it continues a government shutdown. When you crunch the numbers, this view makes sense. A Kaiser Family Foundation analysis found that last year, the subsidies saved enrollees an average of more than $700 last year. And a more recent analysis found that extending the subsidies would save enrollees an average of more than $1,000 in premium payments in 2026, unquote. I am still blown away by that 71% number.
It's
almost as popular as Social Security.
Yeah, well, it's personal. It's personal. This is not something happening to somebody else down the way. This is something happened to me and my family or somebody I know.
That's exactly my point. Right.
Yep.
The lesser talking point that Republicans are pushing, and I've seen this everywhere from CNN, Republicans on CNN, to the Wall Street Journal guest editorial. There's a talking point that Republicans are pushing, and it's also not working, that somehow undeserving rich moochers who can get health insurance from their employers are just taking advantage of Biden's pandemic era giveaway. That is so not true.
Yeah. And they know it. They know it's not true.
This is the talking point, though, is they can get health insurance from their employers. The fact is, they are employers. People that are getting these subsidies are small business people.
Mm-hmm.
People, and I mean Americans on the ACA exchanges know exactly, like us, know exactly what they are personally receiving when they get ACA subsidies, in part because of Republican policies against single-payer health care or even just a public option. That means that health insurance is overpriced, and the application process to receive ACA subsidies is onerous. I'm not saying it's hard, but you have to log in and you have to have all your financial information, and they can check it and audit it by looking at your taxes.
Yep.
Because you have to give them permission to do that.
It's got to be exact. You can't make any mistakes. Yep.
No, exactly. And that process of applying for subsidies is an audit. As I say, your tax returns confirm your eligibility. And when you file for taxes next year, you have to put your subsidies on your taxes. And if those numbers are wrong, those subsidies get taken away on your taxes and you have to pay them back.
Mm-hmm.
So there is an audit process that is a better audit process for individuals getting healthcare subsidies than the Pentagon has ever had.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
That's because members of Congress own stock in,
Well, and just as a reminder,
Northrop Grumman.
Medicare and Medicaid operate at a staggeringly lower profit margin.
Right.
Than any private insurance plan. They are, especially, and VA benefit, incredibly efficient use of taxpayer money to keep Americans healthy.
Yep. The only problem is so many people work in the insurance industry.
Yeah.
That it is, for any president that considers, and this was Obama in 2009, who consider, let's just make it single payer.
Right.
The disruption to the employment numbers by doing that. And I know people that worked for Blue Cross that said, my job was to deny coverage.
Yep. Well,
over and over again.
And that was a stumbling block that Obama did consider. Like, what happens if we make 1 million people unemployed?
Yeah, right.
And
at that point in the economy, he couldn't do it.
And the answer is obviously coal. The coal industry is making a huge
We'll bail
comeback.
off the coal industry.
Right. Yeah. I a million years ago, I worked for CNA Insurance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, these are big corporations that employ a lot of people who really shouldn't be as big as they are and shouldn't employ that many people because their job, as you said, is essentially denying claims to people.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other part of it is when you apply for subsidies through the ACA website or your state exchange, you immediately see afterwards the subsidy you are receiving.
That's right.
And you go shopping for marketplace plans based on your subsidy. So you see immediately that you're getting money from the government to help you pay. It's tangible. So that Republican type of people don't even know what they're getting.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Bullshit.
Absolute nonsense.
Yep. So Americans are, I want to say this again, it is a direct benefit to tax-paying consumers of health insurance. That's what it is. And Americans are aware of it. They like getting it and would like more help affording their health insurance, not less.
Yeah.
That's why it's polling at 71%.
Yeah. And the more people hear about it, the more Democrats remain very clear about their messaging.
Yep. Yep.
This is about health care being taken away from Americans for no fucking reason other than giant tax breaks for people who are billionaires.
Yep.
And that's why Republicans are throwing immigration into the mix.
They're throwing everything at the wall that they can, but mostly it's the hits.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and because immigration is the magic button.
Yeah.
You just keep pushing that button and people will believe anything.
Yeah. Democrats want to give away your taxpayer money to illegals, and well-meaning reporters on CNN and other mainstream outlets are pushing back on that. I will say. George Stephanopoulos did a very good job with Mike Johnson saying, no. Well, all Democrats want to do is make sure people can afford health insurance.
Yeah. And that is the reason that is worthy of note is, oh my God, a reporter corrected someone on the air.
A Republican on the air.
They did a fact. They did a fact on the air. You're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Don't you know that's illegal?
That it was George Stephanopoulos. Oh my God. Yes.
Well, okay. So we're going to go back to the shutdown. Let's talk about back to the shutdown. This is not the president of his local Mensa chapter, but hey, he's a primetime anchor on Newsmax, Rob Finnerty.
Oh, Rob Finnerty. He has talent, all right.
He has all kinds. Those legs. He's in it for his. He has to sit at that glass desk and show his legs. That's what brings all the boys to his yard.
Have you ever noticed that government shutdowns only happen when Donald Trump seems to be in the Oval Office? The last time the government shut down, guess what? Donald Trump was in the Oval Office. You think that's a coincidence? You think that's random? We'll let you decide, but the Speaker of the House doesn't think it is.
He is so close to getting it.
Yes.
And did someone, is that Donald Trump's music I hear?
Well, very simply, you have to get everybody in a room. You have to be a leader. The president has to lead. I hear the Democrats are going to be blamed and the Republicans are going to be blamed. I actually think the president would be blamed. If there is a shutdown, I think it would be a tremendously negative mark on the president of the United States. He's the one that has to get people together.
They're not going to be talking who the head of the House was, the head of the Senate, who's running things in Washington. So I really think the pressure is on the president.
That is Trump in 2011 and 2015.
Well, so riddle me this, Blue Gal, my beautiful wife. Why is the Trump shutdown like the Epstein files and also like January 6th? It's a riddle for all of you out there. Sit and think about this, ponder on it, muse on it. Come back to this podcast in a couple of years after you figure this all out, and we'll tell you, or skip ahead because I'll tell you why. Because Republicans can't keep their fucking lies straight.
Yep.
They lie all the time about everything, and they cannot keep track of which lie they're telling on which day, which is where the White House is telling Benny Johnson, why aren't they telling Benny Johnson to stop cheering the shutdown and blame Democrats? It's the Democrats' fault. Why are you cheering for this thing? Why isn't Mike Johnson able to pick up the phone and threaten Newsmax with sanctions for celebrating a government shutdown? It's a habit they can't quit. I mean, was January 6th a patriotic act by people trying to save their government, or was it FBI agents, or was it Democrats? The Epstein files, are they
wasn't it Nancy Pelosi's fault?
It was Nancy Pelosi's fault.
It was patriots. No, it was patriots protecting their government.
Who must be pardoned en masse because they were protecting their government. Is the Epstein files, is that a Democrat hoax, as Trump keeps saying? Okay, then let's expose it. Let's get it out there. Oh, we can't expose it because, who knows why? And they are so, it's not that they're liars. They're so fucking bad. They've gotten lazy at lying because the people they lie to are so stupid and so racist and
brainwashed.
All brainwashed. It doesn't matter. Just give me something to protect myself from the real world from liberals. So any lie will do. But once you get outside that cave where the tribe that rubs shit in their hair lives, the lies just are nuts. Not because they're dumb, but because they're dumb and they contradict each other. And
even that Sarah Palin floor of 39%.
Yep.
There are a whole lot of Florida Republicans getting subsidies on the ACA.
Yes, they are.
And they are the wealthier people who got expanded ACA subsidies.
Did. And these people know Donald Trump and voted for Donald Trump. Yeah. And he is unaware.
They don't want to pay $3,000 a month for health insurance.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like, I hate to say it, Blue Gal, Republicans in disarray.
As far as messaging is concerned, you could hear it between Benny Johnson going, "Yay, shutdown," and Rob Finnerty saying, "Isn't it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence, or do you think it's a conspiracy that all these shutdowns happen while Trump is in the Oval Office?"
Yeah, Newt Gingrich would like a word, by the way. Because,
right. And then Trump himself before.
Yeah,
he ran for office.
Yeah, it was president.
While Obama was president, it was the president's fault.
Right. Exactly, and nobody else's. That's his job.
And I got those clips from Democratic senators on Blue Sky.
Yeah,
posting that over and over again. Yeah, because the president's fault.
They're out there doing that. They don't have much else they can do. I mean, let's face it. There's not much else tangibly they can do.
But these videos of every Democratic representative standing on the stairs of the House of Representatives saying, "Where are the Republicans? They've all left town."
Right.
Being on their side of the chamber, not wanting to adjourn, and the other side of the chamber is empty.
Yeah, and I do have a question for the people who demand Democrats fight more or should fight harder. Yeah. Okay, everybody could do better. Everybody could do better, but I know that you're listening to this podcast, Tim Miller. So let me just say, or Sarah Longwell. What exactly is it you want Democrats to do more of that they're not doing? Be better at messaging? Well, there's lots of good messengers out there, but once again, we have no delivery system for those things. There is no liberal Fox News, and there never will be. But let's dial this down to the local level, because this shutdown, like all shutdowns, has actual real-world negative consequences, and I saw a bunch of them today. I was in a meeting today in a civic organization I belong to. We were having a meeting this afternoon. One of the things we started to talk about was the state of our downtown in Springfield, which is pretty sad, actually. It's not great.
And we only have less than 120,000 people living in Springfield.
Yeah, 107,000 and change. It's
not a big city. This is a small city.
It exists for two reasons. It's the state capital and had Lincoln's buried here. Mm-hmm. And there's
Route 66. Every once in a while, there's like old cars, right?
And there's lots of heritage and lots of other stuff and lots of things to love about this place. But those are the biggies. Those are the big things. Mm-hmm. So we talked about the state of our downtown and tourism, what the IDOT, Illinois Department of Transportation, has plans for big road improvements, what's going on with that, and even a big redevelopment plan that I'm familiar with that seems to have hit a dead end, which bummed everybody the hell out because that's a baddie. And everything that we talked about in that universe had the stink of Trump policies all over it. And these are real people, business people, who are going to get their asses kicked. When we talked about, for example, out-of-towners, what they can visit, we need to, when we show them around downtown, when they come for conventions, what do you want to see in the downtown area? And they ticked off everything, and somebody said, well, Lincoln's Home, of course, is a big draw. Nope, it's closed. Lincoln's Home is closed. It's a federal site. It's closed because of Trump's government shutdown. Can't go see that. Well, okay, what about all these local businesses feeling the impact of the massive absence of international visitors. I mean, you and I, we used to go to a place called Augie's.
Yep.
And I would stop every now and then and just ask people, as it's a very convivial place, nice restaurant, where are you from? What are you here? And people from Japan and Germany, et cetera, those people aren't here anymore at all.
Right. Nope.
Guess why they're not in this country anymore?
Exactly.
Guess why they're not coming to Springfield anymore? Yep. Road projects, the road projects that will bring life back to our town need a lot of federal money, get a lot of federal money. That's what the federal money's for. And of course, you've heard what Trump is trying to claw back, federal grants from blue cities and states. So everyone is like, well, this money might not be here in 3 years or 2 years when we need it for the road project. So let's put it on hold. And that redevelopment plan was crippled, at least in part, because of tariffs, because of this massive uncertainty that Trump dumped into the system with his fucking whack-a-mole tariffs. And that's created this enormous uncertainty in the construction trade. And nobody wants to go forward with long-term projects because nobody knows what tomorrow will bring. Because they don't know if they're going to be
able to buy materials.
Exactly. Or how much it'll cost, or if it'll be available at all. Or if they can get workers. Because workers are being scared to death, are being scared off construction sites by these assholes.
Who puts roofs? Who puts a roof on a building?
Yep.
They don't speak English.
No. They do
Not here, they don't. Yep.
No, and they do a fantastic job on hot summer days.
How fast they get that roof up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, because they're getting paid by the job, not by the hour. So speed is money. And they're really good and they're really fast. I'm really glad they're here. And this administration is scaring them all away, which is terrifying. Anyway.
On the other hand, in further Trump shutdown news, we have the New York fucking Times giving this guy named Newt Gingrich.
Oh, yeah. I remember him.
Yeah, they gave him guest essay real estate this week to both yell at Democrats for doing shutdowns wrong, and it's the Trump shutdown, Newt, and rewrite his own history into a chest-thumping saga. I wonder if he was the savior of civilization in this
he's the
op-ed.
There's a long, long quote he has that I think we found our artwork, Blue Gal. We're always trying to figure out. I have a number of portraits of Newt Gingrich in various states.
I think we'll have to grab one of those.
I think I can spare one or two for the show because the show needs it.
Yeah. But he had a chest-thumping saga about how, sure, it seemed like the Gingrich-led shutdowns during the Clinton years were a disaster. But see, they were actually brilliant.
They were really brilliant, see. They were genius.
See, Gingrich's shutdown was a triumph of strategy.
Yeah. Big strategic thinker, that Newt Gingrich. Yeah.
And, he got that from Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
Steve Bannon's been all over that this week. We have to strategize with the shutdown and find ways to carve government into this is an opportunity to carve government into what we want it to be.
Yes, shape it.
Yeah. No, it's not going to happen, Steve. While Democrats, again, this is Trump's shutdown, everybody. Democrats are a failure due to bad messaging.
Yeah, bad messaging.
But Democrats are really sticking to the message that this is about health insurance.
It's really simple and clear.
Easy. Everybody can understand it, and that's why they're polling at 71%.
Uh-huh.
And over 50% want Democrats to shut the government down over this.
Yeah. And that number is going to go up.
It's going to go up after November 1st when everybody signs on to ACA and finds out,
sorry,
my subsidies expired.
Yeah. Or the website's gone. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows maybe they'll doge it all out of existence. Who knows?
Do you remember, Driftglass, what Trump's promise was about healthcare in 2016?
My first day in office, I'm going to ask Congress to put a bill on my desk getting rid of this disastrous law and replacing it with reforms that expand choice, freedom, affordability. You're going to have such great health care at a tiny fraction of the cost, and it's going to be so easy.
Okay, to be fair, I remember several of his promises about health care from 2016 and 17 and 19, and a concept of a plan in 2024.
Yes, that's true. The Times added a cherry on top by never mentioning Gingrich's own history of shutdowns blowing up in his face. They didn't mention his 6-year mistress either.
Oh, please. That's just not fair, Blue Gal. Just because
Yeah,
he was
I know,
trying to...
because Trump made her ambassador to the Vatican.
Just because he was trying to impeach Bill Clinton for adultery at the same time he was carrying on his second.
He was getting blowjobs underneath his desk from a lobbyist who wound up being a 6-year mistress and then wife and then...
For America.
And then, that's right, because he loved America so much.
He was working so hard for America.
He got blowjobs under his desk. That's what was going on. That was his excuse. Yes, I loved America too much. They didn't talk about his corruption and his failed attempt to impeach Bill Clinton. They didn't talk about his racism or his incessant lying. The New York fucking Times, the paper of record, the old lady, reduced Newt Gingrich's biography to these 11 words. Mr. Gingrich, a Republican, is a former Speaker of the House. And speaking of racism, here was Gingrich yesterday blaming Obama for racism.
Obama was a major factor in creating a much more racist and much more dangerous America. And Biden, of course, was essentially Obama's third term.
And one thing I think we shouldn't lose sight of is that the headwaters, the point source, the origin point of the modern Republican Party, the really ugly, race-baiting, bomb-throwing, scumbag, lying Republican Party, began with Newt Gingrich and Rush Limbaugh.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, if Rush Limbaugh were still alive, the New York Times would give him a guest column too.
Yeah.
Because that's how far they've fallen. Newt Gingrich shouldn't be allowed anywhere near polite society. And there he is, guest essay in the New York fucking Times. Because don't forget, Republicans have always loved shutdowns when they thought it would serve them. They have the same attitude towards shutdowns as deficits. When they're doing it, it's fine. It's great. It's good for the country. When Democrats are suddenly in office and have to clean up their mess, suddenly deficits are the worst thing that ever happened to civilization and must be corrected immediately. For example, on January 23rd, 2019, there was in fact a vote to reopen the government when the government had been shut down for 30 days. Guess who voted no on that, Blue Gal? Future Speaker Mike Johnson voted to keep the government shut down. Womp womp. Remember, kids, Republicans could now control all three branches of government, of the federal government, and they could pass any spending bill that they like anytime they wanted. They could just blow right past the filibuster, which they've done millions of times before for all kinds of reasons. They even got 3 senators to break ranks in the Senate and side with Republicans who want to strip health care from millions of Americans. Would you like to know their names?
Yes, I would.
The senators are Democrat Catherine Cortez Masto, Democrat John Fetterman, who's just a continual disappointment, and Independent Angus King. And all of this vindictive lying about undocumented immigrants getting free health care is fodder for the MAGA morons who I tell you from local accounts absolutely believe it. Absolutely believe that all you got to do to get health care in this country is say you're illegal and they give you everything you want. And we're surrounded by people like that. And it's being used as an excuse to shut the government down, to delay the big reveal that President Pedo is all over the Epstein files.
Yep.
The shutdown,
and they will keep it shut down as long as they can so they don't have to get that 218th signature.
On the petition.
On a petition to release the Epstein files.
Release the files. Because the shutdown, and this is the larger issue we're talking about today, the shutdown is just one more weapon in the Republican arsenal in a war of retribution they are waging against this country right now. And here's an example of another weapon in that arsenal. But first, do you remember this golden oldie from the years gone by? Just a year ago, as a matter of fact, September 10th, 2024. Back when Trump swore he had nothing to do with Project 2025. In fact, he hadn't even read it and didn't even plan to, Blue Gal.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book.
And now, from the New Republic, just this week, quote, Trump brags about teaming up with Project 2025 creator to target Democrats. Donald Trump apparently no longer has an issue with being associated with the Project 2025 because the lie worked. The lie worked, Blue Gal. There was a time on the campaign trail when Donald Trump, the congenital liar that he is, was trying to distance himself from Project 2025, but that has long since passed. The president is now openly bragging about having Project 2025 officials in his administration and carrying out their goals. You know, his own personal Mein Kampf. Trump announced in a Truth Social post Thursday morning that he'd be meeting with Office of Management and Budget Director Russell Vought, who he boasted was tied to the Christian nationalist agenda, to discuss which, quote, Democrat agencies, unquote, would be getting the axe in coming days, unquote.
And from Susie Madrak at Crooks and Liars, petty revenge, Trump 6 Vought on New York infrastructure projects. Vought said that roughly $18 billion in New York City infrastructure projects have been put on hold, specifically naming the Hudson Tunnel Project and 2nd Avenue subway. The shutdown came overnight, and on Wednesday morning, Vought announced plans to freeze funds appropriated toward infrastructure projects in the state represented by the two top-ranking congressional Democrats. Vought said the funds are being withheld to ensure they are not being used for diversity, equity, and inclusion purposes. Though he did not immediately elaborate on the purported relationship between the two key transit infrastructure projects and the right-wing bugbear that is DEI, unquote. Of course, black people might ride that transit is the problem.
You never know. And now you can understand why the Illinois Department of Transportation is a little skittish about making long-term plans for road improvements, because it's the same thing. We're blue city, blue state. And remember, this is all fronts in the same war. And this is another front. This is from the Associated Press. Quote, FBI fires agents photographed kneeling during 2020 racial justice protests. AP sources say the FBI has fired agents who were photographed kneeling during a racial justice protest in Washington that followed the 2020 death of George Floyd at the hands of Minneapolis police officers, 3 people familiar with the matter said Friday. The Bureau last spring had reassigned the agents, but has since fired them, said the people who insisted on anonymity to discuss personnel matters with the Associated Press. The number of FBI employees terminated was not immediately clear, but 2 people said it was roughly 20, unquote.
Speaking of illegals getting free health care, this is from a man named Jim Marcus on Facebook. Quote, well, he did it. J.D. Vance made me cry today. He's talking about eliminating the Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act of 1986. This act requires that any emergency department that takes Medicaid must stabilize a patient and do what they can to stop them from dying before sending them away, regardless of ability to pay or immigration status. And you notice it says Active Labor Act in the title of that. That means pregnant women in labor getting help with delivery of their babies. Don't think these folks are pro-baby in any way. Jim Marcus finishes up, this is what evil looks like, unquote.
And who was the socialist communist president back in 1986 who signed this law?
It was Ronald Reagan.
Oh, that's right. That Ronald Reagan fella, notorious socialist Ronald Reagan. And since Trump is a dirty old man with a broken brain who doesn't understand how anything works, when asked a simple question about how healthcare subsidies work for the public, he changed topics and went on a rant about borders and immigrants and undocumented workers because that's all his broken brain can focus on. The reporter asked, they're not eligible for healthcare subsidies that Democrats are demanding. So can you clarify, what are you talking about when you say Democrats want to protect their healthcare? Trump replied, so when an illegal person comes in, a person who came into the country illegally, therefore breaking the law. That was his answer. Healthcare subsidies have nothing whatsoever to do with immigration. In fact, you know what? Many of Trump's voters will have their healthcare costs rise substantially after his bill goes into effect.
Remember what we said before about storytelling, that an effective story is a memorable story, and making a story memorable is all about the details. Consider that when you hear the story of Amanda Sieb, a well-known activist who fights for disabled rights and relies on a wheelchair, and who was candidate for Congress in 2020 from Oregon's 1st District. ICE targets Democratic congressional candidate. Agent didn't say anything, just came over and body checked me. she said. I was tackled and my face just smashed into the ground super hard. This shiner will look awesome when I go meet with my kids' school tomorrow. When this happened, Amanda was standing in the bike lane, leaning against a mailbox, just using her First Amendment right to film.
Yeah. And if you see the video, you see these goons goose-stepping down the street and just grabbing her and throwing her to the ground and crushing her because they're thugs. They're just Gestapo. That was Oregon. The jackboots have also arrived in Chicago, as you probably heard. And this was a few days ago, and the results are disgusting. This is kind of a long story, but it's worth repeating in detail, even though it's really hard to listen to. This is from WBEZ in Chicago. Quote, Dan Jones jolted awake around 1 a.m. Tuesday to the sound of federal agents trying to break through his apartment door. They couldn't get past his double lock, so he went back to bed. But when he woke up hours later, for work, he walked out and found broken doors littering the hallway and his neighbors missing. Jones, 27, is among the residents left at 7500 South Shore Drive who are trying to piece together what remains after an early morning high-powered federal immigration raid led to arrests of dozens of their neighbors at the South Shore apartment building. Armed federal agents in military fatigues busted down their doors overnight, pulling men, women, and children from their apartments, some of them naked, residents and witnesses said. Agents approached or entered nearly every apartment in the 5-story building, and U.S. citizens were among those detained for hours. When he got home from work, Jones said he entered his unit to find all of his electronics and furniture missing and all of his clothes and shoes thrown on the floor. Jones said he had no idea who took his belongings and hadn't received answers from Chicago police. I'm pissed off, Jones said. I feel defeated because the authorities aren't doing anything. On Wednesday, toys, shoes, and food were still in piles in the building's hallways. Property managers were seen throwing mattresses and broken doors into dumpsters. This is what our middle child's apartment looked like after a tornado hit it.
Yes.
This
Which, by the way, Trump's FEMA has done nothing to deliver.
Has done nothing.
Even though Josh Hawley got a promise from Kristi Noem that she'd do something for tornado victims in St. Louis.
And instead of that, she's doing this. This is what she's doing.
Yep.
And this is entirely man-made. The Department of Homeland Security said federal agents with Border Patrol, the FBI, and Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives arrested 37 people in the raid. DHS said some of those arrested, quote, are believed to be involved in drug trafficking and distribution, weapons crimes, and immigration violators. The feds also claimed the South Shore neighborhood was a, quote, location known to be frequented by Tren de Aragua members and their associates, but DHS gave no evidence to support the assertion, and authorities did not confirm that any of the people arrested were members of the Venezuelan gang. Alleged Tren de Aragua members have been charged and detained in the city as recently as August, but
the city of Chicago arrested them.
Right, and because Chicago is huge.
Yes.
There are millions of people living in the greater Chicagoland area.
Yes.
But but you wouldn't know that if you watched right-wing media.
Right.
Right-wing media says it looks like Chicago is 3 blocks, and it's always violent, and there's always shootings going on there.
Right.
But the Chicago Sun-Times has found little evidence tying them to violence in Chicago. Roderick Johnson, 67, is one of many residents who were detained by federal agents during the South Shore raid. A U.S. citizen, he said agents broke through his door and dragged him out in zip ties. Johnson said he was left tied up outside the building for nearly 3 hours before agents finally let him go. I asked agents why they were holding me if I was an American citizen. They said they had to wait until they had looked me up, Johnson said. I asked if they had a warrant, and I asked for a lawyer. They never brought one. A similar raid was carried out in suburban Elgin when agents led by U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem herself, fascist Barbie, rode in a military vehicle and blew down the front door of a home where they detained 6 people, including 2 U.S. citizens.
I know something about Elgin because my ex-husband was from there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot. That is a very large Mexican-American community in Elgin.
Sure. Yep.
And in part, they were brought there because Elgin legalized gambling, and riverboat gambling in Elgin is one of the few industries they had left in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they picked Elgin for a reason because it's Spanish-speaking people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Continuing with the article, in the South Shore raid, neighbors said federal agents used flashbang grenades to burst through the building, and several drones and helicopters were deployed. Ebony Sweets Watson, who lives across the street, said it looked like hundreds of agents were outside her front door. Watson said she saw agents dragging residents, including kids, out of the building without any clothes on and into U-Haul vans. Kids were separated from their mothers, she said. Just fucking disgusting. These people are just fucking irredeemable. It was heartbreaking to watch, said Watson. Even if you're not a mother, seeing kids come out buck naked and taken from their mothers, it was horrible. Watson said she went into the building to help one of the residents and was shocked by what she saw. Stuff was everywhere, said Watson. You could see people's birth certificates and papers thrown all over. Water was leaking into the hallway. It was wicked crazy, unquote.
May there be a reckoning.
Unforgivable. This is unforgivable.
Yeah, unforgivable.
And this, I hate to repeat this at every goddamn podcast. This is what your Republican neighbors, colleagues, family members, and church members voted for.
Yep.
They did this to you. They did this to us. It's not some outside force. It's not some invading army. They did this to us, and there goddamn better well be a reckoning for it.
Yep. In the face of all that naked cruelty and barbarity, this press release from the Chicago Journalists Association's Board of Directors is a good example of the fact, although it never makes the headlines, that plenty of people are fighting back where they can with the tools they have. Quote, a member of the Chicago Journalists Association's Board of Directors was targeted, unprovoked, with a fire pepper ball by a masked ICE agent this weekend. Her vehicle was shot with no protesters present. She and other members of our Chicago journalism community have been recently targeted by federal immigration authorities while working. Some have been arrested, others attacked with chemical agents or flash grenades while simply doing their jobs to report the news. Our board denounces violence against journalists everywhere who are working to keep their communities informed. They should be free to exercise their First Amendment constitutional right to freedom of the press without intimidation. Journalists are not enemies of the people. We keep citizens informed, expose the truth, and hold the powerful accountable. But when we become part of the story, we will not stay silent, unquote.
By the way, you want to tell the people what you did last night when you abandoned me, Blue Gal?
I went to a meetup of members of Springfield's Moms Demand Action Against Gun Violence group, and we did postcards to voters in Virginia and New Jersey. This particular group does not endorse parties or candidates because of our nonprofit status.
Yeah.
So we wrote postcards to people encouraging them to get out and vote. And it just so happens that the mailing lists we were using were Democratic mailing lists.
Well,
oops.
Once you find all those Republicans who are in favor of gun control,
yeah,
I'm
right.
sure they'll
Well,
branch.
we talk about that at our meetings all the time, that we would be happy to have a Republican come and talk to us about gun control and what we can do to reduce gun violence. So far, no Republican has wanted to be on record as coming to speak to us.
No, because...
But our state senator, Doris Turner, has spoken to us.
Yep.
And our Congresswoman, Nikki Budzinski, has spoken to us.
Yep. Well, Republicans can't speak to you because if they came and talked to you...
it would be a very bad thing.
Their dicks would fall off. Everyone knows that.
Obviously.
Yeah. Now,
go ahead.
The Chicago Journalists Association board is indeed a good media story, but since we live in the worst timeline, as you know, for every story of someone somewhere with a platform standing up to the fascists, there's always another story of media cowardice and capitulation, like this one from the New York Post. So consider the source, but I've checked it out and it seems real. Quote, Bari Weiss to lead CBS News as part of major Paramount Skydance shakeup. Paramount Skydance is poised to name Bari Weiss as editor-in-chief of the CBS News in coming days, giving the hard-charging journalist unusual clout to revamp the struggling network as it also acquires her scrappy news site, The Free Press, the Post has learned. Weiss, a 41-year-old former New York Times opinion writer who has built the free press into a buzzworthy site with a contrarian bent.
Oh, that is. Oh, there's a lot of heavy lifting going there. Let me put it that way.
The contrarian bent sounds an awful lot like Peyronie's disease to me, you know? There's medication for that, Barry, but I guess, that would ruin your shtick. It bends too far to the right. Way too far to the right.
Way too far. Yes.
She's expected to be named to the top post in a Monday announcement, although the talks are in flux and the timing could change, a source close to the situation said. In a remarkable reshuffle of CBS News' decades-old management structure, Weiss will report directly to Paramount Skydance chief executive David Ellison, multi-billionaire David Ellison, as she helps set the editorial direction at the Tiffany Network's third-place news division, a source close to the situation said, unquote.
I just see Patty Chayefsky spinning in his grave.
I see him saying, I
told ya.
Fucking told you. Him and Mark Twain.
Yep.
Yeah. And all the rest of them just, we warned you.
Go see Network.
Yeah.
And what Faye Dunaway turns network news into.
Yeah.
In Network with soothsayers.
Yeah.
And this is Bari Weiss's moment.
Yes. Yes. I see the two of them in heaven buying Kurt Vonnegut a drink and inviting him to their table.
Who? Mark Twain?
Mark Twain and Patty Chayefsky. And Rod Serling. Rod Serling wrote all about this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All in the bar in heaven, buying each other drinks. Yeah. And raising a glass to buzzworthy site with a contrarian bent.
Yeah. Even I, in my worst moment, could not have written that sentence.
I've written that.
No way. Myself. Yeah.
In your drift glass. So yes.
No, I'm speaking to the voice of Mark Twain right now.
Oh, okay.
I'm assuming a lot.
One of these days you'll be in that bar. Hopefully not too soon.
I'll be serving drinks as well.
But hey, what about the quartz drift glass?
Yeah, what about the quartz, Blue Gal?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. From one of my favorites, Dahlia Lithwick and Mark Joseph Stern in Slate. Quote, 3 weeks ago, the Supreme Court greenlit an approach effectively legalizing racial profiling in immigration enforcement by a 6-3 vote. Although the majority did not explain its decision, Justice Brett Kavanaugh tried to muster a defense in a solo concurrence, because he's dumb.
He's so helpful.
Whose reasoning crumbled upon scrutiny. Kavanaugh insisted that ICE agents may use a person's apparent ethnicity as a relevant factor when deciding whether to arrest them.
This was a misunderstanding. It's just a typo. He meant their parents' ethnicity. Yeah, see, just a typo.
But he assured readers that agents may use ethnicity only in combination with other non-racial factors when deciding whom to target. This is right up there with Citizens United. As long as it's transparent, who cares? Who cares if money becomes speech? As long as everybody knows where the money's coming from.
Let freedom ring, Blue Gal. Let freedom ring.
Peter Thiel, as long as everybody knows Peter Thiel's buying elections and Elon Musk is buying presidential elections, and we all know it's Elon Musk, that's just transparency. Who cares? Yeah, no, this is the same thing. He also insisted, Kavanaugh did, that these immigration stops are a minor inconvenience for those individuals who are legally in the country. How about that guy who was zip-tied for 3 hours and was a U.S. citizen and demanded a lawyer and never got one?
Super easy, barely an inconvenience.
Yeah. Writing, the questioning in these circumstances is typically brief, and those individuals may promptly go free after making clear to the immigration officers that they are U.S. citizens or otherwise legally in the United States. Excuse me. Excuse me, Roderick Johnson, 67, is a U.S. citizen. Agents broke through his door, dragged him out in zip ties, and held him for 3 hours.
Yep. And God knows what happened to
Judge
everyone
Kavanaugh,
else.
you fuck.
Well, I would also like to reserve a few fucks for Susan Collins and people who voted for him into office.
Who voted to let that rapist and asshole and drunk
always
get on the Supreme Court.
And who put Susan Collins into office? Republicans. Republicans are doing this. Republicans are responsible for all this.
Republicans waved signs at their conventions, mass deportation now.
Yep.
The questioning in these circumstances is typically brief, And those individuals may promptly go free after making clear to the immigration officers that they are U.S. citizens or otherwise legally in the United States. In the short time since Kavanaugh wrote that opinion, his assertions have been proved demonstrably, almost laughably false too many times to count. As Sherilyn Ifill notes, the justice's claims were already belied by the factual record in that case, which showed ICE agents violently harassing and detaining American citizens for extended periods simply because they are Latino. Now the agency, freed from constitutional restraints by SCOTUS, has stopped pretending to be engaged in anything other than racial profiling. Bovino's admission only confirms what we already knew. These detentions, far from brief inconvenience Kavanaugh described, are often lengthy, violent, and dangerous. Ifill and Anil Kalhan, a professor at law at Drexel University, have proposed calling these detainments Kavanaugh stops.
Yeah.
A label that's quickly catching on, and it should.
Yeah. It should go right up there with Miranda warnings.
Yeah. Kavanaugh stop.
Say his name.
Yep.
Say his name.
Over and over.
So, in the interest of Republicans are doing this, Republicans did this to you, let's go back to those magic tariffs. They're going to solve all of your problems. They're going to fix everything. And let's bring an actual farmer into the explanation. Let's do farmer to table, Blue Gal.
You know what, Drift Glass?
What?
About 14 people sent me this clip.
I know. Same here.
It's almost as much as people have sent us dumpster fire paraphernalia.
Yeah.
You now have, I think, 4
I have lots of
dumpster
reminders
fires on your desk, so thank you.
And like the raven in The Raven, it just sits there mocking me.
It does. It does. But so thank you, everybody who has sent in. We have a dumpster fire Christmas ornament. We have a dumpster fire
light
travel cup.
Yeah, we have a light.
And a light. We have one that person made that lights up,
which I have to fix.
We have a dumpster fire Zen garden with sand that you can kind of comb. But I do think you have enough now.
I think I have enough.
Thank you, everybody who has sent in a dumpster fire. It is unnecessary for you to send further dumpster fires to Driftglass. If you want to email them a picture of one, that'd be great.
Sure.
But we don't need any more in the house.
No. But I do appreciate the fact that it is in memory of a phrase that came our way.
You invented. Yeah. So this clip that we're going to play.
We're going to go back to the farmer. We're going to bring an actual farmer to the table and ask them to explain about farmers who voted for Trump. What's with the deal? What's the deal with them? This is I should mention, a very short clip from a longer video by a woman named Sarah Tabor, and it's on YouTube, and you can find it if you go looking for it.
Hi, I am a farmer, and something we may have been hearing a lot from farmers is we're having a big emergency financially because of the tariffs and the trade war. And something I keep hearing is we were lied to. We didn't think Trump would do this. So as someone who is a farmer and was a farmer during the Trump 2024 election cycle, in fact, I was running for office as Commissioner of Agriculture in my home state of North Carolina. Let me tell you what the conversation in agriculture was actually like. I can't recall anybody who actually thought Trump wasn't going to start a trade war. What do you mean we were lied to? Everyone knew this was going to happen. Because for one thing, he was running on starting a trade war with China again. And for another, he already did it once. Everybody knew this was going to happen. Everybody in agriculture knew this was going to happen. And as someone who's a farmer and not necessarily aligned politically with most farmers, I found that kind of confusing, just like most people do. Oh, I should mention, in 2024, I was running as a Democrat, right? So I was talking with farmers and I was talking about politics with people. Everybody knew Trump was going to start a trade war because he ran on that. He campaigned on that, and he already did it once. Everybody knew he was going to do this. Now, like most people, I thought, this is insane. How are farmers whose job depends on exports going to support a guy who is promising to destroy their business? I got an opportunity to sit down with the farm lobbyist, and credit to him, he did actually sit down with me because I was running as a Democrat. A lot of farm spokespeople just wouldn't. And I asked him point blank, I said, hey, we all know this is going to happen. We all know this is his plan to start a trade war that is going to hurt your businesses just like it did last time. We all know this, right? And he said, yep, yeah, we know. And I said, then explain to me why we're supporting this guy. Make it make sense to me. I said, explain it to me like I'm 5, because I am a Democrat, so you'll have no trouble speaking to me like I'm 5. So let's start with that. And he said, listen, we understand there's some risks with being part of the Trump coalition. We understand there's some risks to us. But we also understand that there are going to be some benefits. And He wouldn't elaborate beyond that. But let's unpack this just a minute. What kind of benefits could that have meant, right? What kind of benefits could people have been looking forward to that might have made up for the fact that we're about to start a trade war? And everybody knew it. Well, first off, last time Trump did this, he just gave farmers a lot of free money. So I'm sure people assume that would happen again.
So to sum up in sort of a summing up kind of way, well, Republicans are gutting the ACA and gutting Medicaid and passing trillions of dollars in tax cuts for billionaires and shutting down the government to protect Trump a little while longer from the revelations about him and the Epstein files and all the rest of that long, long list of horribles that we all know about. The only people who will be getting government welfare checks because they lost money from Trump tariffs are people who sold soybeans to China. And the only reason they'll get those checks is because they overwhelmingly voted for Trump, like last time. Mm-hmm. And that pool of MAGA farmer welfare money comes from where? It comes from price increases, also known as taxes, imposed on the rest of us from Trump's tariffs.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I got to say is something they definitely do not cover at the 4-H club.
No, they do not.
But in its own creepy, terrifying way, it's the circle of life, kids. It's the circle of life.
Now, like Tom Friedman's magic cab drivers, we must invent a hypothetical listener who knows nothing about nothing, to whom we can ask the question, so, from the courts to the insane tariffs, to the capitulation of the media, to the jackbooted thugs dragging away naked children in the dead of night. I'm still so furious about that. I just can't. I told Drift Glass, I didn't sign up for podcasting about this today.
No.
I wanted to teach all of you vocabulary that you could use to undo both siderism in the media.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk about children being tortured.
In this country.
In this country, in my name.
Right, in our state, where I used to live. Yep.
And I'm sorry I'm upset, visibly upset about this, but
why wouldn't you be
I'm trying
upset?
to be the professional left here, and it ain't working. I'm just going to say.
Why wouldn't you be upset, Blue?
No,
why wouldn't you be upset?
I'm a human being. But again, how could any decent human being justify this to themselves? What in the hell could possibly be fueling all of this? And you all out there listening to us, who have listened to us or found us through Bob Seska, thank you very much, Bob. You all know the answer. But our hypothetical listener who knows nothing and lives in blissful ignorance does not know. So, from John Amato, my boss at Crooks and Liars, quote, MAGA Benny Johnson, white rage is how you win a war.
Hey, didn't we listen to Benny Johnson talking about how awesome
He was
tariffs
going, yay, shutdown. Yep.
Yeah, that same asshole. Yep.
White MAGA Christian plagiarist influencer and former paid dupe for Russia also. Mm-hmm. Benny Johnson, who's, Trump reads his tweets all the time.
Yeah, loves the guy.
Raged against the military, created another meaning to the word woke, and claimed white rage wins wars. Woke is a religion. Woke is a religion for people who don't believe in God, Johnson said. Johnson claimed the new woke religion is trying to conquer Christians and turn them into women. I'm going to let you guys sit with that for a minute. Mm-hmm. Talk amongst yourselves, because this Christian woman doesn't get it. MAGA is furious that Bad Bunny is performing at the next Super Bowl. The NFL, just hired some cross-dressing Satanist to play at the Super Bowl, said Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson.
That's what they did to the military, and what Pete Hegg said. What? Wait, what? They? The NFL? Yeah. No, I think he means liberals are turning the military into cross-dressing Satanists also.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the agenda.
And what Pete Hegseth is doing there is bulldozing that diseased temple into the ground, desecrating their idols before them. And everybody's watched and has seen what's happened over the last couple years with our military. Mm-hmm. Recruitment numbers are falling through the floor because young men who fight and die in all your wars don't want to sign up to serve under someone who attacks white rage. White rage is how you win a war.
Yeah.
Unquote.
Okay. Couple things. First, Logistics is how you win a war, dumbass, not white rage. Number two, you might see a lunatic who is channeling the MAGA id. This is what's fueling all of it. All of it. White nationalist grievance, rage, paranoia, and conspiracy theories about their shitty lives are powering all of this. That might be what you see. What I see is Bari Weiss's first hire on her new job
is Benny Johnson.
Benny Johnson.
Maybe you can make up that Russia money that you didn't return, I understand.
Right. Well, they put him in a short skirt and put him under a glass desk again, make him do news and weather, and pay him $1 billion, whatever they pay these people.
Skin is nice and smooth,
Very smooth, like an otter, like a little otter. Mm-hmm. But from Newt Gingrich's smugness to Trump's petty vendettas, and from ICE raids to the Supreme Court blessing racial profiling, the pattern is really clear. Mm-hmm. Shutdowns are not negotiating tactics with these people. They're part of a broader authoritarian playbook. You break the government, you blame the left, and then you consolidate power and do it all over again. The jackboots aren't coming. The jackboots are already here. And us U.S. taxpayers are being stuck with the bill for their welfare checks and their masks and their guns and their concentration camps. Now, because all of that is really depressing, it's really important that you understand there are people out there fighting for us who have actual power and actual voices that are being listened to by actual people and that we find inspiring. So we're going to go out with 2 audio clips. The first is from this woman named, I don't even know her real name. She goes by the moniker AOC. You might have heard
her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you.
I think there's 2 things that are happening at once, and this is something that's very important for people to understand. One, there absolutely is an unprecedented abuse of power, destruction of norms, erosion of our government and our democracy in order to prop up an authoritarian style of governance. That is happening. However, they are weaker than they look. And it is important that we remember that, because what they rely on is the impression of power, the perception of inevitability, in us giving up in advance to say, oh, what's going to happen if I stand up, etc. Nothing's going to happen. They rely on that perception of inevitability and power so that people comply in advance and acquiesce in advance and give up in advance. And at the end of the day, Donald Trump is at record levels of unpopularity in his tenure. The Republican House is at record levels of unpopularity. They are underwater across the board, and they know it. And that is causing them to double down in public, but it is backfiring. That is why, whether it's a shutdown, whether it's all of this, they want us to blink first. And we have too much to save. Protecting people is too important a task for us to give up before anything even starts.
And here is our very own governor, J.B. Pritzker.
Suggest that you're going to arrest people or that people don't deserve to be U.S. citizens when they are, just because they oppose the president of the United States. I mean, there is something genuinely wrong with this man, and the 25th Amendment ought to be invoked.
Plain and simple, JB. Thank you. We love our governor.
We do.
Each week we post to our Patreon page and website an Internet Kitty sent in by you, the listeners. This week's Internet Kitty is Baxter. Baxter is ready for winter already. He has little white mittens, and they're so cute. And of course, Baxter eats freshly poured cat food, our fake sponsor. Whether you serve Pet Store Perfection or Dollar Store Dreck, your Internet Kitty will sit on the kitchen floor and demand that the food they eat is only freshly poured.
Freshly poured, oh my Lord, it's freshly poured.
And you can visit Baxter at our Patreon page, patreon.com/proleftpod, or our website, proleftpod.com. And you can send your Internet Kitty, dog, or other pet to us at our email address, proleftpodcast@gmail.com, subject line, Internet Kitty, Kitty. where you can also write to both of us at proleftpodcast@gmail.com. Feel free to write us. We love hearing from you. Be aware that if you write to us at any of our addresses, we reserve the right to read your email or U.S. Postal Service, go Postal Unions, letter on the air unless you say otherwise.
And here is your friendly reminder about our gourmet coffee guideline. Yes, we're into the season of pumpkin spice everything. I'm not a pumpkin spice man. But you know what? If you're able to treat yourself to an espresso-based beverage, pumpkin spice or not, we ask that you consider treating us to one as well. And many of you have, and we really do appreciate that. It isn't charity. This is how we support the work that we do. If you can spare just $5 a month or more, we'd be very grateful for your support at patreon.com/proleftpod. Something else you can do that won't cost you a thing. Help us continue to grow by sharing the show on social media. Thank you again to Bob Seska and his listeners for doing exactly that. We appreciate it immensely. If you love this podcast, introduce it to a friend, double date. And thank you so much for that.
I want to thank the person who crocheted a ear of corn and sent it to us.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Yeah, it was fun to have a crocheted ear of corn. We appreciate that. Hey, Driftglass, how are the Internet Kitties doing this week?
Well, Blue Gal, the Internet Kitties say it is a far, far better nap that I take than I've ever taken. It is a far, far tastier treat than I have ever known.
Let's think about living. Think about living. Let's think about loving. Think about loving. Let's think about the hooping and the hopping and the popping and the loving, lovey-dovey. Let's forget about the wine and the crying, the shooting and the dying, and the fellow with the switchblade knife. Let's think about living. Let's think about life.
The Professional Left podcast is recorded under a Creative Commons license. Copyright 2024-25, GGBG Productions.